Hey, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I'm Michael Pachter. I hope that you guys are watching us on SIFTD real time as a Patreon patron, or you're watching on YouTube real time because you're a YouTube subscriber. If you've done either or both of those things, thank you so much. You're helping keep the show alive. If you have done neither of those, or if you've done them and you're just feeling like bored and need to find something else to do with your time, please try to remember to link your Twitch Prime account with your Amazon Prime account. That way Amazon will pay us. You are sticking it to Amazon. It's something you have to re-up every month or two. So if you haven't done it in a couple months, please check out the show description. There are instructions on how to link your Amazon and Twitch Prime accounts together, and we'll get paid. Okay, so today on Pachter Factor Live, we're going to talk about the potential, which sounds confirmed, for Microsoft to make a portable Xbox. And I think that actually means an Xbox handheld, but to make a portable device to play games. Is it a good idea? Is it going to happen? You know, Phil Spencer sounds like he thinks it's going to happen. I have to say that Microsoft would probably be making a mistake if they were to try to sell a handheld. I could see them possibly coming up with some kind of an inexpensive device that you could stream Game Pass games to. But if they really tried to build something, I've got two thoughts for them. Vita, PlayStation Vita, and PSP. Those two things were absolute disasters, and they were really, really good hardware. Sony never made money on the PSP, and they upgraded it to Vita because they wanted to give you a better console-type experience, and the Vita was a disaster. So PSP had modest success, but it launched at a time kind of in between the Switch and the Game Boy Advance SP. So it was a DS era, and DS games were good, but they weren't amazing. PSP kind of took the games to the next level. I don't see a Microsoft handheld doing that at all. I think Microsoft possibly will make a dedicated handheld device that plays Game Pass games. So, think more rudimentary, more puzzle game kind of things, or more free-to-play type games. But I don't see us playing Call of Duty, the actual game, on a handheld. I do see us playing Call of Duty Mobile, Call of Duty Warzone on a handheld. I don't think Microsoft needs it. I think the problem is that Microsoft is coming up with a solution in search of a problem. So I don't think that they, in the least, need to address a market that is shrinking. The Switch market is shrinking. There will be a Switch 2. Nintendo supports its stuff, all of its hardware, with phenomenal content. And in this most recent generation, Switch 1, great cadence, like great pace of new stuff coming out. About half play on the console and about half play exclusively handheld. The half that play on the console, on the TV, go back and forth. So it's a bigger handheld device than it is television device. And I don't see Microsoft competing with that. I don't think that they will ever make the number of games it takes to support a standalone handheld. I think it's a dumb idea. I think that Sony has proven by trying to upgrade consistently beyond the DS to the PSP to the PS Vita that they just couldn't keep up with the quality and content that people have grown accustomed to on console. I do think that streaming will be fine. So if you had a device that was essentially just a big screen phone, and you can do that with an iPad, you can play Game Pass games on your iPad. They can make that work. That would be fine. But you don't need to sell me a Microsoft branded device. They could do this on Surface. They could do it on your PC. They could do it on an iPad. You just don't need a dedicated device. So my bias is Microsoft plans it. They intend to do it. It's something they're going to do. And it's going to launch and bomb. And when it bombs, I think they're going to discontinue it quickly. So, back to thinking about Microsoft and their vast success with handhelds. Anybody remember the Zune? I know you don't. I will tell you a funny anecdote. Zune was Microsoft's MP3 player. It was their music device to compete with the iPod back in the early 2000s. I remember 2 or 3 years after the Zune launched, I had Microsoft call me, and it was their PR department, and they go, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you about your impressions about the Zune and see if you'd be willing to give the press a quote." And I go, "What's a Zune?" And I was absolutely kidding. Like, obviously, I had one. I knew what it was. and they took me seriously. They went, "Oh, the Zune is our MP3 player and it competes with the iPod." And I'm like, "I'm kidding." But the fact that they thought I was serious showed what a bomb that thing was. I don't see handhelds working. Gizmodo flopped. I know you guys don't remember that. Gizmondo, sorry. Gizmondo flopped. It launched and folded about a week after it launched. Every handheld I can remember, except those made by Nintendo, has flopped. Neo Geo flopped. Nintendo is kind of the exception to the rule that proves the rule that it is really hard to make it in handheld. And what Nintendo did early on with the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Color and the SP was they licensed a lot of content. They had a lot of developers that were making content for them. So you had all these Pixar games, coming from THQ back in the day, DreamWorks games. And you had companies like THQ that made a living selling handheld games. So tons of third-party support. Well, all those guys went bankrupt because they couldn't compete. Midway went bankrupt, THQ went bankrupt, 3DO, Acclaim. We just lost, Atari. We lost all the companies that were making third-party for Nintendo, and Nintendo took it in-house on the Switch. And it's worked for them. There's very few third-party titles, that work on the Switch. I mean, they're a handful, but I'd say they're at least 75% of dollar sales of software on the Switch are Nintendo produced. Microsoft would have to do something on that level, that order of magnitude, in order for their handheld to succeed. They'd have to get some pipeline of software for their handheld where they were producing 75% of it. Not happening. Obviously, we have PC-like devices, handhelds like the Steam Deck that work, and people are very happy with them. That's what I envision Microsoft's going to do. So when I say Microsoft can't make it with handheld, we need to define handheld as traditional handheld, Game Boy, DS, Switch, PSP, PS Vita, and PC-like device made for Game Pass, or a Game Pass-like experience that plays PC games. And I think that Microsoft may do that, but again, I don't know why I need Microsoft to make one for me. If in fact the market for a Game Pass-like experience is available on handheld, Apple will make it. Somebody who's really good at device manufacturing will make it. And I could say, okay, sure, Steam will get bigger at it. Valve will make even more, drop the price down to $100 and come up with a streamlined version. But I don't know why I need Microsoft to make it. To me, it's just like Microsoft making mice. Like, they don't need to. There's a million mice manufacturers out there. You don't need to buy a Microsoft branded mouse. If the device is a commodity device where you play PC-like Game Pass games on your PC-like handheld device, then let somebody else make it. You guys will answer back, okay, what about Surface? Yeah, Surface is a piece of crap. Like, it's fine. It's a decent device, but it doesn't do anything that a Dell, laptop does. It's the same idea. And we've got all these guys like Lenovo and Dell who are really good at PCs. We've got all these guys like Apple that are good at tablets. We've got all these guys like Valve that are good at Steam Deck. I don't see why we need Microsoft to enter the market. Microsoft would be much better, open architecture, license to everybody, let everybody carry your games, and exploit the service by selling subscriptions. The value is not in the hardware. Even if you look at Nintendo's numbers, they make very little profit from hardware. They make all their money from software royalties. So I don't see it. If Microsoft decides to be a Me Too and come up with a Microsoft branded Steam Deck-like device, great. Then they better be cheaper, because you're not going to buy the Microsoft device unless it's better and cheaper than the Valve device. Thank you for joining us on Pachter Factor Live. If you are a Patreon patron, thank you for your patronage. If you are a YouTube subscriber, thank you for your patronage. If you are either of those or neither of those, please remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. There are instructions in the show description below, and you've got to re-up that every couple of months. So please, if you haven't done it in a while, please check out the instructions below and do it. That's helping us out, keeping us funded. You're sticking it to Amazon. It costs you absolutely nothing. So free is good. Free with Amazon paying us is better for us. So please make sure that you do that. Otherwise, follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky at Michael Pachter, and I will see you next time.